How you doing? It's Davy Burke and Enda Varley back here again to look forward to this weekend's All-Ireland semi-finals and then the Tailteann Cup finals. So we have obviously Kerry v Dublin up first, and then we're going to look at Derry v Galway after that, and followed by Cavan against Westmeath in the Tailteann Cup finals. So first up first, Enda, the two probably big dogs, the two top teams in the country, I would think anyway, and I think that would be the popular opinion at the minute that they're I think a lot of people would think the winners are coming from this round, this side of the draw. What do you think?
I think it's a fair assessment. I think, no, look, that's true. The last 10 years, Derry and Galway haven't been at the top table for 10 to 15 years. So obviously, tradition and their excellence over the last 10 years is because of that. But we'll say on Sunday, how do I see it going? I'm seeing, to be honest, it's so hard to call, Davey. We'll say we're on about before with the Con and James situation. The biggest fear for Dublin is that they're just not the same team without those two players. The league form, people forget they had been relegated in the league, and people were, would people have said Dublin would be favourites for the All-Ireland, or joint favourites for the All-Ireland, we'll say 3 months ago? Absolutely not. So it's, as we were saying before on this pod, like you were about the Kildare game, and maybe that could have papered over a few cracks with Dublin. As we said as well, Kildare, they were shocking on the day. They obviously they admitted that themselves. So is that a true reflection where Dublin is at? The Cork game, they kind of haggled along, if that's the right word, or struggled along for that game. Now look, it's still a comprehensive 11-point victory, but it didn't create any goal chances. Look, it was a measured display. But come on Sunday now, Kerry are going to ask a lot more questions of that Dublin defence. So I'm not going to say who I'm going to call yet, but what are you thinking?
I think it's going to be a cracker. I think I'm really, really looking forward to this game. Both games, both senior games the weekend anyway, but really, really looking forward to this one. For me, the matchups are going to be hugely important here. And I presume, and that we can only work off if Con is available. We can obviously say if he's not available, for me, I think it's a complete game changer. I think it blows the game wide into Kerry's favour, in my opinion, if Con's not available. But rather than going on about ifs and buts for an hour, we may as well. Yeah. I'm going to take it that Con's available, and I think that's a brilliant one. Do they go with, Tom Sullivan more is Kerry's number one shutdown full back or corner back, but Jason Foley's a bigger, stronger man, I would have thought, from my limited knowledge. So that's a very interesting decision there to see who they put up on Con.
They'll go with Tom. They'll go with Tom on Con. I would think now. Sorry, I don't.
And do you think Enda, will Tom bomb or will he sit? Because against Mayo, he wasn't really man, and he just had license to go because O'Connor isn't probably as dangerous as he once was. We'll say, right? But what would you be looking for now from Tom Sullivan? Would you give him license to go? He's kicked 6 points from playing this championship. 6 points. That's some going now.
Yeah, look, we'll go back to the point we were making on the last part. You remember the 2015 All-Ireland, Cooper and Philly brought Gooch up.
Gooch, yes.
Yeah, several times. And it's a very simple, as you're saying before, you have to have your wing forward staying there. Look at Gooch at the time was their main man. Con is Dublin's main man. I think Dublin will have that. They've done that before. They'll get a wing forward, a Scully if he starts, or a Howard. Whoever's wing forward will pick him up. And Tom won't be long come back to Con. Then if Tom doesn't see Con following him, look, he'll stay put from then on.
The question for you on that though, right? Then just to go further on that, do you think a team like Mayo, caliber Mayo, surely they had the same plan? No, and it clearly didn't work if they did.
Again, Davey, you're presuming an awful lot here. You are.
Yeah.
It's. Oh, geez, we're getting back to Mayo here. Christ. The ethos, James will always be a man that he'd never want to fall between two stools. So if you give someone the license to pass the guy on, well, that's not what's the word I'm looking for. that's not clear cut.
Yeah.
As in, like, he wants everyone lined up.
Clarity.
Thank you. Clarity.
Yeah.
All right. Clarity. He does it. He never wants to fall between two stools. He hates that. So like, but there has to be exceptions here. For the corner forwards, your main score getter, and Killian. I suppose he wouldn't. He doesn't want to be going back 100 meters after Thomas Sullivan. Thomas Sullivan dictating that. And Con the same way. Dublin. I think the Dublin back routine, the management team have enough brains to say on Sunday.
Yeah.
And they will have discussed that before the game.
And probably tactically more astute than Mayo. Or I don't think there's probably are tactically more astute than Mayo.
Dublin are. Well, so, that's I'm going off. That's history there now. Yeah. You have to. That's a valid point there now. I'm not like that's history says that they have been better in that category than
because where's Con as well as that, right? Where's Con's conditioning levels? He's played no football, like very, very little football. What's he played? 3 games. He played against Wexford. He played against Kildare. Sorry, he played Meath, Wexford, Kildare. So he didn't play Cork. He's played 3 games this year. Did he play any league? No, he played no league. No league at all. No league. So he's played 3 senior football games this year. Missed Cork. Who knows if he's missed 2 for 5 weeks? We don't know. No one will ever know what he's missed, right? And you won't know till 2 minutes before throw-in whether he's playing or not. So we won't harbour the point, but I labour the point. I do think Tom Sullivan could cause Dublin lots of problems going forward here if there's not a clear plan in place. But I think the Scullys, the Buglers of this world are far more in tune with that game. I think they're far more in tune with that game than maybe
you won't see Con going up and down the pitch 7 times a half. There's no he might follow him once or twice, but after that they'll cut it twice and tell him to get the hell back up and pass him on basically. Sorry, no, I was just going to say, Davy, we're on about Con here, but I like the middle third. James for Dublin, like it's massive. Like Kerry's middle third. Kerry's keeper is it's questionable in terms of the short kick outs and that primary possession. He'd be going long. I'm going to say he's going to probably go long 1 and 3 anyway. And that primary possession is going to be huge. So if Dublin too, like it's all right having Con in the full forward line, but if they're not winning primary ball, he won't be worth the shite to you. So James is a massive factor there as well for that primary and transition ball for Dublin on Sunday.
100%. And Ryan's kickouts are not brilliant, as we know, right? They're not. They're definitely Kerry's either their biggest weakness or one of their biggest weaknesses anyway, right? And Dublin are a brilliant team at the press as well. Brilliant team to press you now. And when they go 4-4-4, they'll put a back wall of, if McCarthy's fit, Howard, Fenton, and even Lahif across it, or who else have they got? A big Bugler's a decent sized man as well. If they go with that back 4 across that, who Kerry probably, will they start more and will they not start more? And does he have the legs for 70 minutes? Jack Barry usually picks up Fenton. So there's probably, they're probably going to go back to Barry. I'd imagine they'll go back to Barry because he does do well on Fenton. He's one of the few players in Ireland who can keep Fenton relatively quiet now.
Geez, Dave had a decent game against Mayo though.
He did.
But then again, who would you prefer to bring on with 20 minutes to go, Dave or Jack Barry? Dave more all day long.
Unless you're trying to secure the lead. If you're 5 points up, probably Jack. But like, let's be honest about it. Mayo offered nothing, and we're not going back to Mayo again, but they offered nothing. They kicked 13 points in 75 minutes of championship football. A shocking display. So David Moran was very good. I'm just not sure. I'd much rather Dave Moore and Paul Murphy, these animals, experienced men off the bench with 20 to go Sunday, Dan Jack, or else Graham O'Sullivan. I'd much rather go with them boys to start and bring on my experience. That's what I would look at.
But do you think though, Davey, we always, and down through the years, you always see a dominant. If you start Jack Barry and O'Connor midfield for Kerry, who's your dominant midfielder there? Who's the number one primary guy? Do you know what I mean? O'Connor all day. Has he that personality already?
I don't know if he's the personality, but he has the ability. That man, I think he's a Rolls Royce. I would have seen him at underage football, managed against him. He's good. He's a right good footballer. Legs, kick a score, tackle, work rate, kick pass. I think he's the real deal, honestly. He's probably not a fetcher of the ball, and that's probably the one area maybe, but I think he's the real deal himself now.
But what I'm saying that, like, he's probably only 23.
22 or 3, yeah.
22 or 3, yeah. Like, it's usually, yourself, there's usually a mainstay, say, with Dublin, Macaulay, and then Finton came into it and kind of took over that. He was a secondary midfielder. That Joe, what I'm kind of getting at here. When it's in the pot here now on Sunday, and when it's, when they need prime possession, has he that personality to grab?
Well, no, he won't need it. He won't need it because Moran will be beside him when it's in the pot. When this goes down the stretch, you know what I mean? Okay. When this game is on the line, right? After 50 minutes, Dave Moran will be wearing whatever, hit the midfield with one of them, with one of the guys. And if Barry's full of running and Fenton's only kicked one from play and he's not contributing, it'll be O'Connor who goes, or else it'll be Darren Moynihan who goes, or whoever. You know what I mean? I think when the game's up for grabs, Moran will be on the field and you'll see him come down. Well, I think Kerry will be whatever. So I think Moran will win a key mark or a key play or a key. Now, saying that, am I right in thinking in 19, did Moran give an awful silly ball away towards the end of the game? Am I right in thinking that?
He did. Yeah.
I think he did. For such an experienced player.
Yeah, well, he's a kick first midfielder. You don't see it. Himself and Finton are very similar in terms of they wanna. It's nearly like a Zabby around the corner. They get it, and it's just a little hook corner kick, that 25 yards, just to bring the play forward again. Like he doesn't really kick the ball sideways or lateral at all. Like so, I love watching that, to be honest. I love seeing that.
Yeah. What an option to get you forward. Like I see with my own team and lots of teams, it's the struggle to get forward. This lateral stuff, and teams are filtering across the field. Teams are defending the field narrow and two zones and whatever you want to call it. Teams are doing it right, and you're going from the 2 pocket to the 4 position, and you've just went 80 meters sideways. You haven't made any forward progress. They've dropped 15 or 13 minimum anyway inside, it's say to your 45, they're going to meet you at the 11 and you're meeting them big press then, and you look up and the channels are blocked up. So that shavy ball around the corner from your midfield is serious options that an awful lot of lads don't have in the locker, and that's the problem,
That's the skill set, Davy. That's essentially what you're talking about there. And like Kerry, as Jack O'Connor would say, they're one of their major strengths is that they're a kick passing team, and look at going to college with Kerry lads. You've always traditionally they are very, very skillful. They might be in transition some years, but their players left and right, hand pass, kick pass. That 30-yard pass in Gaelic football is so important. And
one bounce,
one bounce, exactly. Just to transition that ball, sometimes people, they want to go with a 50, 60 meter kick pass, and you're thinking it's just, the longer that ball is in the air, the less chance the full forward has, as in, yourself, it's 2 or 3 seconds longer in the air and he's up your hole. It's just that 30 meter kick pass. I don't give a shit how good you are. If the centre forward is on the 50 meter line and if I'm inside and that 25, 30 meter ball is on, I don't care. You're the best cornerback in the country. You're not going to touch me.
It. Yeah, you're
winning it.
Yeah.
So it's and Kerry, that's one of their massive strengths. They play through the lines. They don't go for the 60. I remember in 14 actually, we obviously played them in Limerick in the replay, and they were going long to Donaghy in the first 10 minutes, bombing it. And it was just coming straight back out because why it was like 60 meter balls, and you could see from the sideline, right, we'll go through the lines here, get it to the half forward line, transition it half back to half forward. Don't be going so direct. And then Keith, obviously James O'Donoghue got into the game more because of that. Keith, one of the best cornerbacks in the country at the time, couldn't do anything about it. And obviously just that 30 meter ball is so important, and people underestimate that.
And I would always be coaching that. And the big thing I would always say to lads, how many lads do we know that can kick the ball accurately 50 meters? Very few.
Left or right? No,
very few, right? So why are we doing it, lads? Ultimately, why are we doing it when it's a hit and hope? Essentially, you're giving it the time it takes for the ball to travel. You're giving the opposition huge time to set up, etc., etc. More than likely, any good fullback, what's he going to do? Break that ball. There'll be a +1 or else a cover defender coming, and it's mopped up and they're gone out the field. Whereas now, what you need to create, obviously, and generally, if you get 2 forward kick passes, Enda, as you'll know, if you get 2 forward positive kick passes in the one move, you're generally getting a scoring opportunity off it. Generally, like if you're getting 2, so if your outlet or your 11 can get that bit of separation for your wing back or your transition player to kick the ball forward to him, if he has that 5 meters on the centre back, he's just he pushed off or whatever, he's got checked his man, whatever he had to do, then you're on. There's a goal chance coming here potentially. Like you're wide, there should be wide open here.
100%, like 100%. So it's look at, and we're witnessing now on Sundays. Dublin and Kerry are probably, they are the best kicking teams in the country, and they're favourites because of that, because of their skill set. They're the two of them, left and right, hand pass and kick pass. They're the best in the country. So it's no coincidence that the two of them are obviously All-Ireland favourites here. So look at it. It's all about you break the game down. So look, the kickouts. Who's gonna retain most of their possession for the kickout? Can the opposition would say, can Dublin get a Kerry's kickout? And if they can, well then that's a direct route to their goal. So it's going to be, it's different facets of the game. Wherever you can win those different facets, it's going to be the inches that you need to add up to that victory. So it's going to be Christ, that was a big cliche there, but anyway, fuck me. Any given Sunday here, but no, like but you know what I mean. Like it is the kick out, it is, and then the transition, how well you can transition the ball, and then getting that +1 back in front of the D here. So it's
But a big one on the kickouts is there's a couple of different parts of the kickout. Evan is not Cluxton. Evan Comfort's not Cluxton, right? He hasn't had huge minutes this year either. He's played a good bit, but not every game. And he hasn't got the distance, I don't think, in his kickout. Cluxton had the biggest weapon Cluxton had was he could hit Connolly on the run from 70 meters. That was or Flynn or whoever, right?
Yeah.
That's not in Comfort's locker, I don't think. So if Kerry get their press right, you guarantee, I think Comfort could be caught here or could be put under serious pressure here and brought into a scenario he's not that comfortable in. He's not that used to being in, and really squeeze up on him. And also, now, there's another side of that. Shane Ryan is capable of this too. He could be really good at. And Dublin are the best in the business, as I said a few minutes ago, at this. So it's a hugely interesting facet of the game. But the one big thing, and these are definitely the two smartest teams, I would say, in the game. They won't press for 75 minutes here. They'll pick and choose. There will be times when they'll give Michael Fitzsimons the ball. There'll be times when they'll give Tom Sullivan the ball, whoever. There'll be times when they'll do that because ultimately they might need a breather. Ultimately, they might be trying to defend a lethal half-time. Last year, 4 minutes, carry it 3 points up. They might want to give the Dublin fullback the ball, drop inside the half, and not concede any goal before the half, or whatever, whatever the scenario you're looking at in the game at the time is. So, whereas the more naive teams will try push, press, and what happens to you? You run out of gas. Out of gas, simple as that,
Just at one point on that, yourself through coaching, like the usual press is from a free, and sometimes look at it, and if it's from play, usually the goalie is quick enough to get it out 20 meters and off they go, and then as a forward unit you usually have to come out as a collective and come up to the 45 and go from there. But those teams are well set up, and like that's burst, that's driven into them since 10 years now at this stage. But
the big thing though on it as well, on the press, is if Gavin White or Owen Merchant, for example, to use two examples, if either of them can get on first phase ball on a press, it's a goal, or it's a goal opportunity here. Yeah. So if Dublin come with the big squeeze, right, and David Moran gets a flick to it, or Dermot O'Connor gets a knockdown, and it's the Gavin White. And if I was managing Kerry now, I'd have Gavin White tracking the ball. I wouldn't have him playing any positions on kickouts. I'd have him tracking our kickout, i.e. Gavin, if they come with a big press in this scenario, we're going either down the middle or wherever you're going. I don't care where they want to kick the ball there. Gavin, you track the flight of the ball. Be 15 yards, goal side of the ball. The minute Moran's going to break that left or right, you're gone on that. And there's no stopping him. It's a goal. There's just no stopping him. And Owen Merchant's the same on the other side. But what I find an awful lot happens is if Merchant's wing back or cornerback, or if White and the ball gets kicked to the other side, I think it's the biggest waste ever. Why is Gavin White 85 meters from that ball? Whereas this is your massive opportunity. This is risk reward. They've put 4-4-4 into your half. That's 12 players. The keeper's 13. So minimum, they only have 2 more up there. So if you go on first phase here, it's a goal chance. It's an absolute goal chance. So I find some teams don't set up well enough against the press, whereas you can actually really hurt the press by getting your key pacey individuals in and around it for a flick on or a breakdown or whatever it might be, and you can cause consternation then,
Yeah, like again, we're not about the goalies here. Like, you're on about Cluxton there. Like, Cluxton, as those inches, like, Dublin obviously only won the All-Ireland by a point in some cases. Like, like, how many examples can we give here? One comes to mind with the McCaffrey goal against Kerry. The kick out to Howard on the Hogan stand side, and Crooks out the air, and it was literally 2 passes and a goal. Like, and also I remember, Cluxton got over the blanket. Like, Cluxton had a very underrated. Cluxton could kick the ball 55, 60 meters. He when he wants it now, he didn't do it that often, but if he put the foot down, he would. And there's ample occasions where he got over the press, and that keeps them honest. Yes, thank you. Honest, exactly. So again, like, I agree with you. Comfort just doesn't have that in his locker. I don't think he can kick the ball more than 50 meters, to be honest with you. And the more we talk about it, I think Kerry have a serious advantage in the middle third here with the 4 big guys across the middle between Moran, Barry, and Adrian Saplan, O'Connor as well. That's 4 massive guys, and like, I just don't know, do Dublin have enough there to counteract that in terms of their primary ball? That's why I'm out about McCarthy being so. Obviously, they have Finton, Howard, but like, I'm just not like, Howard is kind of. Where's Howard going to play for them this Sunday? Like, that's another.
Yeah, I think that's an issue for Dublin. You know that? I think Howard's an issue for Dublin because he's unbelievably talented, brilliant footballer, but he's playing centre back one week, he's playing wing forward the next week, he's playing sweeper one day. What's going on here? They're not settled at all. This Dublin team is not settled, and it's not good. It's really not good at this stage of the competition. And a forward line like Kerry will expose that. Like, they will expose that ultimately.
Well, yourself, David. I just think a 6 is just that. Like, a 6 to me would be one of your first people on the team sheet in terms of, you want to settle that guy into the role for the season. Like, he's your main talker, he's your main communicator in terms of your full back line, stopping that primary ball in, your main communicator, the midfielder who's picking up 11 when he's dropping back. Like, these are all like, and Howard just to me is not a natural 6. I suppose they haven't really replaced Cian O'Sullivan since then. So, like, again, that would, another question mark I'd be for Sunday, and it would kind of steer me in the direction of Kerry, where you're right. Like, they have been chopping change in their 6. They haven't been a settled team. And again, we're harking back to the Kildare game in terms of papering off the cracks. I just think Kerry, this is, yourself, with a new manager, especially a manager of Jack O'Connor's kind of ilk coming into the setup, he's going to you really get a lift in year 1. And I just think this is Desi's year 3. And again, don't forget, Dublin technically are in transition. They're like, they're introducing a fair few young lads in terms of that the bulk of that 5-6 in a row team is pretty much, well, half it's gone anyway. Half it's gone. So, like, if Kerry don't do it Sunday now, I'd have serious question marks over
their stomach ultimately.
It's definitely, if any year you want to, obviously Mayo bet Dublin last year, but any year, look, this is set up for Kerry. I don't think they've any injuries coming in. Jack O'Connor's won 2 over his last 2 terms. He's won 2 All-Irelands and 2 leagues with them. I just, they have everything in terms of primary ball winners. They're at a good age in terms of their age profile. I just, talking today, I wasn't, the more we're talking here, the more I'm saying it's going to look like Kerry.
The kind of last couple of things for me on this, right? The 2 centre forwards and the 2 centre backs are going to go a long way to the side in this game, because Tadhg Morley has got a freebie all year, right? And Kerry, I was doing a few numbers here today. Kerry conceded on average 11 points across the year. In championship football, and Dublin have conceded 12 on average, right? So it's very tight there, very, very tight there, right? Kerry have scored on average 122, and Dublin have scored on average 222. So if you do the maths, it's very, very tight, right? But for me, one thing about that is I think the Kildare result definitely kind of swings the balance and unfairly. I just don't think it was a good day for Kildare. Whatever happened, we've discussed that before. We're not going back there again. I think it adds to Dublin's tally and it ups their average unfairly, or I don't think it's a good fair reflection on where Dublin are at. But what I'm saying about that is 11 scores conceded and 12 scores conceded on average, right? Tadhg Morley's a huge part of that, dropping off as the +1. Why has he been able to do that against Limerick, Cork, and Limerick, Cork, Mayo. And Mayo, right? Why? Because none of them teams have 6 scoring forwards. None of them teams have lads who are threats. Sorry, not lads, have 6 threats. None of them have 6 threats. So they can always generate the +1. They can always work it out that Morley gets free. He sits in front of Jason Foley. And now Kerry are conceding 11 points on average a game, which is a savage return over 75 minutes.
And haven't conceded any goal all year.
No. Right, so there you go. Right, whereas what happened against Tyrone? Did the league 2, 3 maybe last year in the semi for 2 anyway, wasn't it?
They did, yeah. They haven't leaked to go in league or championship, Jamie.
No,
they haven't leaked to go in the league either.
But here we go. Dublin, for me, Kieran Kilkenny has to start 11. He can't play wing forward. He can't. For me, you put him on Gavin White. Gavin sends him in the wrong way all day. I don't want that. I want him starting 11. Why? Because now Morley, if you drop off me, I can kick the ball. I can carry the ball. I can kick scores. I've got the he's the most complete footballer probably there has been in the last 10 years, in my opinion, right? And he has it all. He has to be either man-marked or well-marshalled regardless, right? And if Kerry, you know exactly what James Horan doesn't want to happen here, just to use him as an example, right? I'm very similar. I'll never allow this happen. You know this cracky, your 6 drops off, but your midfielder gets the 11. I think it's bullshit. I don't think it works. I think any smart 11 will lose that midfielder in a heartbeat. He'll just drift into spaces where he won't pick him up, or he'll be too far away from him, and the damage will be done. You know, that kind of way. I that's where the fear and the issues come with designating the +1 has to be Morley. If the +1 could be Gavin White or Brian Begley or Morley or Dave Moran, then fair enough, lads, we'll develop it. The weak side will tuck across. But the problem I think with Kerry is they're too rigid here, a little bit too rigid here with Morley has to go. And if Morley has to go, who's going to pick up Kilkenny? And that's why I think it's a no-brainer for me. Kilkenny has to play 11 and he could really hurt Kerry if they drop off him.
Well, like, I suppose it's not just, I suppose, the likes of Stephen O'Brien, Adrian Saplan, whoever plays the wing forward roles there, David, will be keeping an eye on him. I know what you're saying, but then I'll play devil's advocate here and counter that argument by saying that if you gave 3 or 4 lads license to drop off, they'll all fucking drop off.
Yeah. Bluffing at the end of the day.
Yeah. Oh, I'm playing the +1 here. Oh, my man's up there.
Yeah.
It's
rife. It's fucking rife.
Everyone wants to be a +1 man.
It's great. So but I 100% get you. But a smart, intelligent, honest team don't drop off like that. You know what I mean? So they but that's just flip it around the other end then, right? Shawnee O'Shea, John Small has to pick him up. Simple. And John Small, not that he has his number, he definitely is well able to handle him. He's like they're very similar to Barry and Fenton. It's a fairly tight enough match. Yeah. So right. That's Small into 6, Shawnee O'Shea at 11, and if I think Small's the best half-back marker in the country. I don't think there's anyone as good as him. I think in the half-back line, he's a league of his own. He's a fucking animal. He's an animal, that man, and he will hit and he will minimize O'Shea's influence on the game. And if that happens, who's next? Paddy's going to have to be the next link man, because if they take O'Shea out from the link, then it has to be Paddy, because Geeney's not going to do it, hasn't the legs to do it. They don't want David doing it because obviously it's not Darragh Moynihan's job, it's not Spallan's job, it's not Stephen O'Brien's job. Well, Stephen O'Brien's job is the link to play through his legs, I presume. It's to run the ball, you know. So that's a very interesting one for me. I honestly think Morley's decision on Kilkenny and Small v O'Shea will go a huge way. That's the most intriguing part of this whole game for me, is what do Kerry do with Kilkenny? And I hope to God Dublin put him, not Howard or not Scully, or I hope they put Kilkenny 11 or even put Con 11 and put Kilkenny 14 and really ask a question of Morley, you know, that kind of way. I want to see that happen.
And we didn't discuss this either, JB, and we've often said this down through the years as well. The Dublin bench just simply is not the same as it was. So, and Kerry hold the advantage there as well on Sunday, I think. So I 100% agree with you. Kilkenny, but they won't like, if Tadhg Morley is the designated +1 and Kilkenny is playing centre forward, they're gonna swap that out. Like, they're gonna put a man to man, and they're not gonna let him fucking drift away or drift off himself. Like, so again, no, I 100% agree with you. Geez, we're half an hour. We could talk about this for fucking an hour.
That's a big game, though. It's a big game. It's a big game.
It's a big, yeah, it is a big game. It is a big game.
So where when you look at it all with the score concession, the score like this is tight, man. This is
I just think with Kerry's Jacko's come in and he's tightened up the defense. That was one of his primary objectives. They're transitioning the ball quicker. Everyone seems to know their roles a lot clearer here. There's clarity in their roles. And he's playing to their strengths, as in, we'll say, the two wing forwards, Adrian Spillane and Darren Moynihan, or whoever it is,
Stephen O'Brien, yeah.
Yeah, they're that's their role. We know what their roles are. Clifford obviously knows what his role. Sean O'Shea, Party, they know linking up the play. They have two midfielders they've two midfielders coming off the bench as well. They've got 5 or 6. Tony Crosland's a really good corner forward as well to come off the bench. Killian Spillane, Jesus, yeah. So they're real score getters here. So I suppose we are kind of drumming up Kerry here. You can't look at Dublin's experience throughout the years. That culture is still in the squad. They don't. Their backroom team. They haven't. We'll say a lot of them have stayed on. We'll say I know Jesse's obviously. There's 2 or 3 new guys with them, but a lot of them, that culture is still there. So it's don't forget they've only lost to Mayo last year in the semi-final. So if they go down on Sunday, they'll go down fighting. It'll be a 1-2 point game. I'm looking at here. So again, we're saying, and look, we've said this already. If McCarthy and Conor are missing, it's 100% Kerry's game to lose here. It's Kerry all day for me. I think if Conor and McCarthy start, I think it'll be nip and tuck, but I still fancy probably Kerry just to get it over the line through their bench and their primary ball winners in the middle sector.
Do you know one thing for me before we move on off this is these teams are going to set up to mirror each other as well, and we all give out about Derry and Monaghan and Tyrone and Armagh earlier on in the year, mirroring. It's Donegal, right? All are mirroring each other up there, right? People say Kerry have 6 scoring forwards, which they do. We'll say the 4 boys everyone knows, and then you'll have O'Brien can score, Moynihan can score, Spillane can score. Flip it around, Bugler, Howard, or Scully. They're all score getters, but ultimately they're workhorses. Bugler's there to do a role, Scully's there to do a role, and I think that gets lost a bit. I think Dublin and Kerry don't get tarred with the same brush as easily as the Derrys or whoever are saying, oh, Jesus, they're only playing with trio. They're playing, like Bugler is not an out-and-out forward. Scully, I don't believe, is an out-and-out forward. He's a transition player, a brilliant one at that, but he's a transition middle third player, right? And it's the very same with Darren Moynihan. It's the very same with Stephen O'Brien. Now, O'Brien can play closer to goal, I think, as well, because he has done for a long time, but not in his current role. So I think these are both playing with 3-4 up top max, really. And all the talk of having 6 scoring forwards, I don't back that up. I don't think that's accurate, to be honest with you. I don't think it's accurate. I think it's
No, but I would say, Davy, that they have probably four of the very best in the country, and I think they're the kind of the auxiliary players, or the supporting, not the auxiliary, but the supporting cast. When it comes around the D, their skill set allows them. They're better than the other teams in terms of that support cast. The McCarthy's, like Finch's an unbelievable score getter. The middle third, we'll say, that middle third sector, they all can kick left and right around the D. And again, we're talking like Kerry and Dublin. They're the 2 best teams in the country this year, without a doubt. And I think we're just both excited to see what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, Fenton's kicked 10 points in play. Would you believe, in the championship? That's some kicking, isn't it? Like
he when it's all said and done, he'll go down as
the best. Or very close to it.
Yeah, he will. He will, absolutely will. So it's
just to wrap it up. So I tipped Kerry. I tipped Kerry, hoping James McCarthy, hoping Conor Callaghan play, hoping David Clifford's 100%, hoping all that. All that in check. I still see Kerry winning marginally. If them boys are out, particularly Con, it's, as you said, it's Kerry's game to lose. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But Kerry, this is huge. Have they the stomach for the fight? Have they the know-how to beat this Dublin team? Because still Dublin's 15. If you put McCarthy in, say, take out maybe either Gannon or take out maybe Lahif or someone like that, right? and you put in Con and you put in McCarthy, that 15 is as good as there is in Ireland, or good as there has been in Ireland. You know what I mean? Like, right?
Yeah.
So that 15 will make good decisions. They'll make the better decisions, and they'll work the ball, and they'll it'll come off for them. So Kerry have a massive thing here. Do they have the know-how to get around this Dublin team? Do they have the stomach for the fight against this Dublin team? And particularly if they're missing Con, do they have the mentality to put this Dublin team away? They're all the questions I think need an answer.
Most All-Irelands over the last 10 years have been decided by the strength of your bench. If you go back through it all, and I just think Kerry shade that sector in terms of the score getters coming off the bench, in terms of the primary ball winners. What do you want the last 20 minutes? You want people to be able to win the primary ball in midfield, and you want people to be able to not fucking shit themselves, as in you want them to swing the boot at it. And like Tony Brosnan, as I said before, and Killian Spillane, two very, very good footballers to bring off 100%. The bench in the full forward line. And then you have obviously
Dave Moore and Paul Murphy. Ultimately that's it. Theirs, but that's where it's going to be decided.
Right.
Yep. So we're happy with that. We'll move on to another huge game, the other semi-final.
Hold on, Davy. Sorry, there's a few comments here. Right. Michael, 1984. Back to Mayo. A poor Mayo kicked away against Kerry. I generally think the winner of Galway versus Derry wins the All-Ireland. Kerry are not the great team everyone thinks they are. How would you go away with that, Michael? You're drinking, yeah. You must be drinking. Jack, 2022. True, but that's Mayo in lot big games. We see Galway have weakness too, and Derry, they are not favourites. Yeah, Dublin it's 50-50. Kerry haven't played much yet. Mayo tested bit. That's Mayo fault. Kerry did what? I don't even know what you're trying to say there. Retype there, Jack. Michael, 19. Come on, Jack. Oh, shit, yeah, right. All right, we'll move on. They're talking around that.
So Derry v Galway. I think this is hugely intriguing. Two Division 2 teams in All-Ireland semi-final. It shows me, thinking with my manager's cap on here, it's no longer as important being a Division 1 team, in my opinion, anymore, provided you're at the top 2-3 in Division 2, and that's the space you're operating in. I think if you're in the top 10 in Ireland, you're fine. Top 11 in Ireland, you're fine as of now, because even on next year, if Dublin and Derry get promoted, if Dublin and Kildare get promoted, if Meath and Kildare get promoted, who's coming down? Potentially Galway, potentially Roscommon, potentially Mayo, potentially Monaghan. You're still operating at a hugely professional, competitive level. So for me, that's just one point. And I think the obsession with playing Division 1 football now is nearly done away with, I think, a little bit. Now, but the key, you have to be operating at the top of Division 2 and nowhere else. Right. Like nowhere else, Just on this game, so I've been hugely critical now, and I'm not going to let my own man bash this Galway side either, right? But I've been hugely critical of Galway earlier in the year, right? Before we even started this, I would have been hugely critical of Galway. I thought they were way too offensively set up. They were wide open at the back. I think Cork scored 2 or 3-16 or something mental against them in the league one day, right? They just, and then they went the complete opposite, and I think they conceded 1-6 against Clare or Meath or some of the league. So whatever they were at, but in fairness to them, they've sorted it out. They've got much better balance to the team, much better structure to the team. And again, I'll do it again. I think Cian O'Neill has a lot to be thanked for that. Take credit for that. I think they look like a very tactically astute, aware team. Now they'll need every bit of it, because this team they're coming up against is possibly the best coach team in it. Possibly the best coach team in it. Again, that word, and it's my favorite word when it comes to coaching, is clarity. When things are clear, when I know I'm cornerback, this is my job when we have the ball, this is my job when we don't have the ball. That's clarity, and that's worth a fortune to you as a team. That's worth everything to you. That clarity, when the wingback knows where to be, whoever knows where to be, that you can't buy that. That's coaching. That's what the top level coaching is about, And so for me, this is going to be a tactical affair, a really, really intriguing tactical affair that's going to go right down to the wire, I think.
Yeah, look, I couldn't agree with you more. I think Galway will have to mirror Derry, because we know what Derry are going to bring here. They'll have They'll have 12 men behind the ball, most likely. They'll go counter-attack football. Galway won't be able to commit. Obviously, they'll have, they'll have 3 or 4 sitting back around the middle third, just in case they get the breakaway. I think you're right. I think Rory Gallagher has obviously done an unbelievable job at Derry. They are definitely one of the best coached teams. Anyway, they know. Look at again, they're playing to their strengths. They're like counter-attack football. They have a lot of athleticism, a lot of pace. They've a couple of nice scoring forwards. Conor Glass, middle third. He's a fucking very, very good footballer. I just, I'm thinking about this today, and I'm just like, where, like, is my bias to Galway? When I won't let me say that Galway will get into an All-Ireland final. But to be fair to them, a country like I watched them in the league final against Roscommon, and they lost that game by, I think it was a German Mertens scored a cracker of a goal in that final, but they regrouped very well. And as you said, they each game, we say the first round against Mayo, they played a blanket defence against Mayo because they knew fucking Mayo struggled against blanket defence. Yeah. And they got over the line in that game. Again, against Roscommon, they played a more offensive game. Pádraig Joyce knows, like, he was, like, I know this, I have a few friends in Galway, obviously, and they, like, last year, the goalie cost them with a few short kickouts, and fucking PJ went mental at them. So they're going more direct with those kickouts. Now, Gleeson is a big worry for them, but the fact that if Galway get on top of those long kickouts when in primary possession, well, then that takes the pressure of Gleeson. Then obviously the boys will kind of sit back, they'll cheat maybe 5-10 yards back the way, and he'll give Gleeson that little 20-meter kick out that's much easier if they're all pressing up. You know yourself, if they're pressing up, squeezing, well, then Gleeson, I don't think Gleeson has that middle third, that 5-7 pocket kick out. I don't think he does. I think he's a fucking boomer of a kick out. I think he can kick the ball 60 meters. Yeah. And I think that seriously helps Galway get up the pitch. Yeah. I think that's one of his major strengths. But I think, like, I don't know in terms of, I think Galway individually, have individually better players than Derry. But I think, as you said, Derry as a collective are a better coach team, if that makes sense.
I think they're longer on the road, you see. Now, and that probably doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. But because it's Pádraig and John Divley and them boys are there 3 years now, but it's Keane who, in my opinion, has transformed them tactically, and he's only in 6 months. So that's why they're probably not as far down the road as this Derry team who've been doing it. But I think just on it, I think Derry are getting, and I was part of it, I think they're getting a bit of flack about this blanket defence and having to murder them and stuff. Derry's attack play is ridiculously good as well. If you watch their attack play, right, and they're so ruthless going for goals, but they'll stack 4 or 5 lads across the full forward line, right? And there's a clear clip I've seen, we're watching it today in prep for this, against Clare. Clare had 15 men inside their 50 metres. Their own 50 metres, Clare had their full team, right? And Derry had 5 men stacked across from sideline to sideline on the inside the 14, right? Obviously, they have to be marked because they're not going to be left in there, right? So that's 5 defenders gone. Then they had 5 men out across the 50-yard line, we'll say. That's 10 men, right? And then they had 3 men mixed in, and they left 1 as a +1, right? And so there was 28 players in that inside 50 metres in Crow Park. And the whole D was wide open, right? Yeah. And you know what? The worst part, that the ref was actually standing in the middle of the D, which I'd say Gallagher was doing his brains in on the sideline, because that was obviously what he was trying to do, was to open the D. And the ref was fucking standing in the middle of it, like, you know what I mean? Like, right? So moving on from the ref, the whole point, 77% of scores in intercounty football come from the D, or in and around the D, right? That's a fact. So Derry attack play is very smart. It's very well. Their depth, right? Their width and their depth. Their depth particularly is something I haven't seen a huge amount of before. They're holding 4 or 5 deep, which they all have to be marked, which sucks them players, them +1s we talk about, them cover defenders we talk about around the arc. All of a sudden, you don't have as many bodies around the arc because they have to mark, right? And what does that mean? Now there's bigger gaps for punchers, for strike runners, for pace, and Derry's goals, a number of them came off this exact move. Glass hugs the sideline. Shane McGuigan carried forward, right? Popped it into Glass coming at a hard line through the gap, broke through the line, popped it back to McGuigan. The fullback drawed into him, popped it to the corner forward, bang, goal. So whereas what normally happens in that one, Enda, McGuigan carries, pops it to Glass. Glass runs into 12 defenders, turns around, recycles the ball, goes again. Them defenders weren't in place. Why? Because of Derry's depth. Derry in such depth that they're not in place.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you, Davy. And again, playing devil's advocate here, I thought like Galway have obviously like Clare were like an underage team out there. In terms of the physicality here now, Conor Glass, I remember that goal. He went to 2 or 3 defenders. Now he broke through the middle of the two of them, kind of their weakest point. It was obviously a good run by him, like, but I just. Oh, fuck it, like I can't see them getting that amount of goal chances against Galway here. I just physically, and look, I do agree with you. I like Rory, you know, that his innovation in terms of, you know, the attacking style of football, and it's a breath of fresh air to see a team do those sort of things, because you don't see that all the time. But that's probably going back to our point here. I think it'll be interesting. We'll say will it. Are we agreeing here that Derry are probably a better coach team than Galway?
I think, you know what I think Galway are? Galway are changing, and this is going against where I'm probably going to tip them, but Galway are going game to game, and they say they set up against Mayo, right? With the 2 Curra Finn boys tucking in as a plus 2, right? Whatever way you want to call it. They slightly adapted that for the next day. So I think the Galway are changing, and then you lose a bit of cohesiveness, you lose a bit of fluidity, you lose a bit of, you know, week on week, game on game, learning the same system, etc. So I think Galway that's a worry for me with Galway, in that they're changing too often, too regularly, and that's a concern I would have for Galway. So I'd absolutely agree with you. Derry are a better coach team, purely, I think, because they're further down the line than Galway. That's why I think that. But having said all that, the condition, that was the point, you're bang on. Conditioning, the Division 1 can, like, and I think we're both in agreement. Galway and Derry are both Division 1 standard teams, I think it's fair enough to say, right? The conditioning of them teams is frightening, right? And Clare looked like a very poor team who I said the previous week were at the end of the road, and I got slated here for it, like, you know, that kind of way. So I'd stand by what I said. Like, I think they, you know, it was the year over for them, and they were just blown away by Glass's power, McKinless's power. They're running McGuigan. They just could not live with them, you know, and so. Galway, though, they're going to have the conditioning, the physicality, the tackling, the work rate, that Division 1 senior tackling, the physicality and the noise of it at that level. And where did Derry go then? That's my question. Where did Derry go when them avenues are shut off? When Glass has the ball, when his man has got contact on, he turns him. As Glass has been used to, hasn't been turned a lot. You know, that kind of way. When you turn them, when you slow the ball down for Derry, where do they go then? And that's ultimately, because if you go back to Derry, right, I know Monaghan, I've done a little bit of work in this Monaghan game with Derry. Monaghan kicked 20, was it 7? One way or the other, I have this right or wrong. I think he kicked 17 scores against Derry, and they 21 wides, right? 21 wides against Derry. That's 38 scoring chances, right, in a game. So if Derry defend like that against Galway and Croke Park, they're going to lose the game, because they gave up 38 scores. Now, good, these weren't shots from the sideline. These were decent shots by Monaghan, right? 38 of them, and Kerry gave them up. So there's weaknesses in this Derry team, and just teams haven't been able to exploit it up front yet. That's the big issue. And like going back to, you know, who did Derry beat the last day? Remind me there, who did Derry? Oh, Clare, obviously last day, right? Clare. Yeah, Clare, and then came out of Ulster.
Clare, Donegal.
And Ulster, look, Donegal struggling all year. You know, at the,
go at them.
No. Look, they were, you know, let's be honest, Donegal were going nowhere this year. They fell out of the championship. It was a weak, shocking display by Donegal. So where really are Derry? And then they beat a low-level Division 2 team who were at the end of their year. Well, you know, where are they? Do they get a shock in physicality here? Do they get a shock in, you know, off this Galway team who is really coming, in my opinion?
Yeah, look, and the matchups, Davey, would be another big one here. You're probably talking Chris McKay will go on Shane Walsh. Yeah. You're probably talking Rogers will go on Comer possibly.
Yeah.
Like, And then who else have you got?
Go Glass on Conroy.
Glass. Would they? McDaid might pick up Glass, I'd say, for the engine.
Yeah. Do you see that's you see, if I was Derry now, I'd be doing everything in my power to get Glass onto Conroy because he'd run him into the ground. He'd run him into the ground. Yeah. But Conroy, if Conroy's well capable, as you know, kicking 4 from play, well capable of it. Yeah. So there's the trade-off.
They're going to need that on Sunday. I think, like the accuracy around the D there now under pressure here. That's going to look at execution. Like whoever's going to execute them scores around the D under that immense pressure is going to win this game. It's I'm not going to say it's as simple as that, but it's going to play a major role. I know that's a very simplistic way of putting it, but like you can envision this game out already. Look, it's going to be a counter-attack football. It's going to be fucking probing, soccer style probing. Each team is going to be fucking held up at the 50-meter line, and it's going to be who's offensively sound in terms of what they want to do as a collective to get that ball around the D and fucking get a score from that. And after that, in terms of primary possession, from a free, in terms of who can win that, and can they get a squeeze in the kick out, and if who can win the most kick outs out of that in terms of direct route to goal, they won't be as much of a blanket because of that. So it's those are the kind of things you're kind of looking at here. And then the matchups, like Shane Walsh on McCaid, I fancy Shane Walsh, to be honest, and I'd fancy Comer and Rogers as well. But again, they'll be getting help here. So from the other lads. So I'm still in two minds here, Davy.
One other big thing on this, right, is two things quickly. Gleeson and Oren Lynch are both weaknesses for both their sides, right? They're both weaknesses. They're not the real deal, either of them, I don't think. And Lynch has got away with a couple now this year. He's got away with a couple, right? So if that's punished, obviously different story. Like I say, Derry have been practicing bombs all for the last 2 weeks, just lob bombs into the square, like, because let's be honest about it, like. But another huge thing, and this is and I'd be very interested in hearing from you Sunday evening on this one. What Derry have done expertly, they didn't have to do it against Clare. What Derry done expertly, again, coming back to coaching against the Ulster teams and getting back to the execution, right? They allowed everyone other than the 2 or 3 key forwards shoot essentially from a certain position in the field. Yeah. So we'll say Sunday, I reckon, or Saturday evening, we're going to see every time Shane Walsh is in the scoring position, 3 lads diving on his boot or hounding him. Comer diving on his boot. Bob Finnerty, Matty Tierney. Them 4 boys, I think, will be selected. Or maybe even they might take Tierney out of that band and put Conroy into it, right? And leave Tierney out of it. Then they're going to put Finian O'Lee, Johnny Heaney, and the likes of Tierney together, right? And say, we will take a chance that from 35 to 40 yards out, them boys won't do it often enough. We'll take a chance, preserve our energy, but we know Shane Walsh, Comer, Conroy are getting nailed and Finnerty every time they're in scoring zone. Because again, it's about energy. It's about reserving it and using it for the key guys. And whereas, again, the naive teams, the lesser coach teams do what? They hound everyone. Hound. You're winding up a shot from corner back. What are you going to kick? 1 and 9, 1 and 7. That's all you're going to kick. Whereas you're winding up Shane Walsh. I need to dive in his toe. Just dive on it. I need to put. So I think Derry've been, and it's probably gone under the radar a little bit. People haven't looked into that. Derry are allowing what they believe. They're identifying key people in oppositions, and obviously they're shutting them down when they're about to shoot. But they're allowing, nearly encouraging the other guys to shoot, which is why certain teams are kicking 20 wides against them or dropping the ball short so often against them. And again, it's another notch on their how well they're coached, And I'd be very interested in hearing Sunday evening from both to see, did we notice it? That kind of it. Did we notice them allowing McDaid to shoot? Did we notice them allowing Johnny Heaney shoot? And that'll just be another interesting point on it, Anything else to wrap up that game?
Anything else? What else? The benches. What do you think about the benches here? Like, there's Derry. They bring on maybe 2. They don't have
Emma Bradley be named to start. He won't start.
They don't have a killer bench here now, Derry.
How is Anton Tohol not broke into this team yet? What is he at in training? He wears number 19 or 20 every day, coming back from the AFL. As far as I'm aware, there was a big push to get him back, and now no sign of him.
No sign of him. I don't know. Galway too, like this. who have Galway? Fintan O'Leary come on the last
Fintan O'Leary come on, yeah. I can't even think of half their bench, to be honest with you. They're not. Are they overly stacked either?
They're not, Davy. This is it, like. So it's really, do you know what? I think I'm just to be different. I'll go with Derry for the crack here. I think maybe I always believe a better coached team is better than the individual. So we'll soon find out on Sunday. I wouldn't be obviously wouldn't be surprised if Galway got into or bet them by a few points on Saturday night. But I think we're getting two really good games, competitive games, and I think the championship. Obviously, we got one the last day in the quarters with Armagh and Galway, but these two now, like I don't even think Croker's. I said that today. I don't think Croker's sold out for Dublin Kerry yet, which is a worry now. That's very
big time. Yeah. Two quick things before you go on this point, right? The league game. I'll stick to where we are first. The conditioning levels of Derry has been outrageous. Let's be honest. Now again against Clare, fine. It looked outrageous. Different level of operation, right? No problem with that. Do you have a concern about periodization here? Have Derry been going hammer and tongs with the same 15, 16 players all year, right? Losing Kieran McFall, massive player to them, right? Have they been going hammer and is there a potential they could fall off a cliff here? Is there a potential that they got there, or what do you think?
Well, we could say the same thing about Galway. We say they fucking nearly collapsed against Mayo in the first round. The last 2 minutes for Galway seems to be very, very.
When they're 5 or 6 up.
When they're 5 or 6, yeah, exactly. When they're 5 or 6 up. So that's, I probably think Derry are a better conditioned team than Galway in terms of fitness wise. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's more periodization I'm talking about, though. I can be the fittest man in my town, but if I've had 10 months of it, I just don't want to do it. You know what I mean? That's my question is, and I'm far from the fittest man in my town as well. But that's just. You don't at this level. That's not going to come into it, is it really?
Well, again, I trust. From Galway's point of view, Cian O'Neill is one of the best in the business for that. So from Galway's point of view, Davy should be well set for that. Derry, I don't know their S&C. That's totally to do with their S&C and their coach / trainer. So far this year they've looked. They have looked. Awesome. They have in terms of fitness, in terms of. Jesus Christ, Conor Glass, going up and down that pitch. Fuck me, Pink, man. He is just...
Australia, though, is obviously standing to him now. That base is obviously coming from... Yeah. No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Last thing, Fiona. Owenbeg. Galway went up to Owenbeg in a massive league game this year, right? Massive league game. Derry won the toss. There was a gale. The posts were about to fall over from a gale, right? And Derry won the toss and went against it, which we in my knowledge, that is unheard of, and it's madness. And Galway had pinned in, and as far as I'm aware, they 3 early goals, or they were definitely 9 or 10 points up early on, right? And ultimately blitzed them. Was Gallagher playing a game? Will that have any bearing on this weekend? Does that give Derry extra motivation? Does it make Galway get complacent? What does that do you think?
Oh, geez, David, don't want to fuck it. I'll be brutally honest here. I don't think that'll have
matters a shite.
No, it won't matter. I don't think so. Now, look, it's obviously subjective here. Like a gale force breeze in the middle of fucking or up March, there, like
whenever it was,
wherever it was March, and you're talking like Rory probably. From a psychological point of view, he probably said to the players, "Fuck it, we're going to go against the breeze here just to be." We're going to fucking.
But it cost them promotion, though. It cost them promotion, like.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's fucking. It's madness to me as well. Going against the gale force breeze, you get it when you can get it, as in you don't know what's going to be. 35 minutes what the wind is going to be like. So, take the advantage. But for this Sunday, I don't think it'll matter a shite. I really don't. Yeah. I think two teams this year, they've been obviously the surprise packages. And they have. They really have. So fuck it. I'm gonna say Derry for the crack here. I think we'll see.
I'll go tight with Galway in a tight, very, very tight game. I wouldn't be surprised if we had one extra time here and one of the games. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. That's a good point. Hopefully, what do you think of the penalties, by the way, in terms of the as in
They're very exciting, but I don't know if it's fair, is it?
No, I don't think so either.
Not at this stage. Not at this stage of competition.
No, and it goes against all our history and kind of ethos. You know, don't let soccer into GA or to Park, and we're
Is there anyone on there giving out to us?
There is Davy. You also said you have Clare a shout against Derry. You can't unwind the clock.
I didn't say that. I said Clare would be competitive, which I was so wrong with.
ATC, I can see Dublin playing Con in the last 20 minutes if he's not 100%. Yeah, look at it.
Depends on the injury.
Depends on the injury. There's conflicting reports between hamstrings, stress fractures. Yeah. If it's a hammy and you're coming out with 20 minutes to go and you don't think it's right, well, you're in the wrong spot. The wrong spot here. ATC, he'd be dangerous coming off the bench into a tired Kerry full back line. Yeah.
As far my knowledge is that Jason Foley is either a 200 or 400 meter sprinter. So a runner, 200 to 400 meter runner, that man ain't going to tire too easy. You know, that kind of way.
Really,
and Tom Sullivan's lightning, so that full back line isn't going to tire that easy. You know.
No. Michael 1984 says here, Con would destroy Jason Foley even for 20 minutes. Yeah, look, I don't doubt that, Michael, one-on-one, but they won't. It'll be a plus.
It won't be one-on-one. Where's Tyke Morley?
Yeah, exactly. That's the modern game at this stage. But anyway, that's it, Davey.
Just lastly, the Talton Cup, Cavan Westmeath, and I think I'm not sure if we mapped it, but it wouldn't have taken a genius to put these two teams in the final and maybe throw Offaly or whoever in the mix who are all semi-finalists. So we could have mapped this out a long time ago. Two good sides, two sides who both have eyes on Sam Maguire, competing in Sam Maguire, I'm sure. Like they want to be in that competition, I'm sure. And ultimately this is why it was brought in, though. A really, really competitive. It's a 50-50 game. I'd say it's slightly in Cavan's favour, but ultimately, is this not what we want? I don't think either team are going to win the All-Ireland this year, like as in Sam Maguire this year. So is this not what you want to do? Give them something tangible to work towards. And now they're getting their day out on Saturday with the Derry and Galway game after. Should be a huge crowd there. And you have an All-Ireland and an inaugural tournament. I think it's brilliant, to be honest.
Yeah, it's what do people want to see, Davey? It's competition. Yeah. You don't want to see. We've had this for 10 years, and I suppose even that we were saying before, Dublin and Kerry not being sold out, that's a fucking massive worry, because they have to change. The GA have to change, and slowly they're coming around to the idea of doing. I was never a massive fan of the Super 8s, to be honest. I just fucking it was. I didn't think we needed the Super 8s. I think we needed to rejig the the Talton Cup. We needed to give the weaker teams a chance to progress and to have that kind of that hope, as in something tangible here. While we'll say if you're I don't want to be disrespectful here, but if you're a Leitrim, we'll say, start off the year here, FB League is your primary competition. Yeah. You want to fucking try and win it, because everything else is not.
Well, it's not. Division 4 really is, or that's
sorry.
That's it. You're right.
That's it.
Yeah, but not anymore now. Not anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. So it's. I think everyone's in agreement. Just the draconian fucking stubbornness in the we'll say the the central councils, the Leinster, Ulster, Connacht, and Munster. They all want to fucking hold on to their roles and
their tickets in Crow Park and their box.
Yeah. And
that's it.
Yeah,
if you look at Leitrim, right? The Leitrim go to penalties against Sligo or London.
Sligo,
right? Sligo gave Cavan their absolute fill of it now. They're fill of it, right? Had goal chance after goal chance that they didn't convert, right? And now Cavan, in my opinion, probably slightly in a better place than Westmeath, I think, right? The weekend. So what does that mean for Leitrim? They're not a million miles away at this level. At this level, there's something for them to work towards. Cavan are gone out of this next year if they win on Saturday, right? They're gone. So there's something genuinely tangible there for the Leitrims of this world to work towards now. It's a no-brainer. It's a brilliant competition. And they've really, I was critical of the marketing. I was critical of the advertising of it. Now it's getting more time than the Joe McDonagh Cup ever got. So you roll it on. If we talk about one.
I know. I was just going to say. We said this before about the hurling. When there's so many fucking competitions, it's watered down too much, and people just fucking. I don't know. I don't know the fuck. Do you know that?
I do. It's the Lee McCarthy. It's the John McDonough. It's the Christy Ring. It's the Laurie Marr, and it's the Nicky Rackard. I think in that order. I think. Yeah.
Fuck. Like that's it.
So it's not even junior. Anyway, we won't. The hurlers will be on to us. Shane will be on to us, giving out about our knowledge on it. But if we move on to the game, right? Obviously, Cavan's team, Paddy Lynch, Gerard McKiernan, and I don't want to give you the generic players here, even huge lad is back in the last couple of weeks. Marty Riley's after coming back. He's been drip fed back into the team the last few weeks. Obviously, was it a knock? Were they looking after him? I'm not sure what was happening there. Key player back for them now. Galligan is very, very sharp this year in midfield, hugely fit. I think when he won his All-Star, he definitely regressed a little bit in the years after that, but now he's right back where he was. Obviously, Raymond Galligan in the goal is a huge threat from anywhere. His frees are massive for them, and they're a good side. They're Oisin Kiernan. They're a good side. This Cavan side,
They're a good side. It'll be just as you said, Westmeath, like they probably showed that bit of class in the forward line against Offaly, wasn't it? Sorry. I probably would say Cavan are slight favourites. Just that bit more experience. Obviously, that Ulster run a couple of years ago would have done them no harm. Obviously, but like you're probably talking again. It's going to be a 2-3 point game here. As you said there, the big guys for Cavan might just, the McKernans and the Galligans, like might just, fucking that experience and that know-how to get them over the line here. But I just, again, it's so hard to fucking call here. I think it's going to be a 2-3 point game. But again, at least we're getting competition here. At least it's going to be competitive.
I see. Just one point on it though. Offaly were not that they were experimental. They were young because of there was a few defections, they had injuries, whatever else they had, right? Yeah. And different. I think the management knew they were at the end of the road as well, and whatever. There was a few. So, and Ronan O'Toole and John Heslin had the freedom in the park and just destroyed them. I think. Pádraig Faulkner, ex-All-Star, will have some battle with Heslin, that kind of. O'Toole.
Will Cavan go defensive?
Will Cavan go defensive? No, they will. They play 12 behind the ball, but they leave 3 up top. Like McKiernan will trot back to midfield and trot back to 11. Paddy Lynch will come back out. They won't. I don't see them going too defensive. No, I think your standard 10 and 12 working back. That's what I see, to be honest with you. I just think Cavan. I could see Cavan winning the game with 5 or 6 points. I could see them learning from what Offaly done wrong. Offaly just didn't have the personnel on the field, I'd say, to really shut up shop. And I could see Cavan winning by 5 or 6 points. They're just a bit more experienced and probably a team further down the line, to be honest, at this stage.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. It's is this the Westmeath? Who's the manager this year? Is this their first
Jack
year?
Cooney. No, Jack Cooney's in year. Geez, he must be 3 or 4 anyway. Definitely year 3. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. 100%. Yeah. Okay. He is, yeah. Okay. So it'll be interesting. I'll go for Cavan by 5 or 6, and anyway, that's what I think.
Yeah. I'll be 3 or 4.
So we might touch base again Sunday evening and see how wrong we got everything and see if the Clareman's back on giving out again to us. But
yeah. Hold on. Last thing before we go, attendance will be pitiful for Charlton Cup. It is a sad reality. If you go to both games, If you go both games, you will be in Croker for 5 hours. Not many will sign up to that purgatory. One mistake from either Ryan or Comerford could be this difference on Sunday, possibly.
Fair enough, yeah.
Kerry seem to have too many options up front. I think they don't know their best forward lineups yet. Who do you start in the half forward line?
That's straightforward. I think we're on the same page. Balance. We're on the same page. Yeah. We have been. It's Darragh Moynihan, Spillane, or Stephen O'Brien. That's 2 of them 3 have to start, and then you've
Michael Burns kind of comes off the bench as well.
Yeah. But he doesn't seem to be a starter, right?
No,
and then Shawnee, Paddy, Geaney, and Clifford. That's their team. That's their starting 6.
Exactly. Yeah. So Yeah, you won't see Gainey out in the wing forward spot. That's for sure.
Gee, Conor Myler, he must have nightmares about Conor Myler, for fuck's sake. Jesus Christ.
Right. We'll leave it at that, Davy. Good
Come on,
chat.
see you. Talk to you. Cheers.
Cheers. Talk to you Sunday. Go on. Bye.